Okay. So we are on tonight. This is our normal 9:30 meeting fellowship with men, and we come together to have these conversations just in regards to just, knowing that iron sharpens iron, and we are here consistently just building in this space, man, the space of transparency. And tonight, we're going to be talking about, when times begin to look difficult. And a lot of the times when these things happen, we allow whatever that situation is to consume us. And I just want to tell you, it too shall pass. These things aren't forever, but the feeling that it leaves behind is a dragging, is not just a dragging feeling, but it is also a feeling of defeat. Is a feeling that, what else is next? What else can go wrong? And I don't know if you brothers, or whoever's listening, ever experienced those things, but if you look back at it and and you can really like focus on those times, you'll just notice that it was a moment. We all go through moments, and due to the fact that we all go through moments, we have to be able to identify that everybody's moment is different. Everybody's moment is designed just for them. And what I mean is, there's things that are going on right now in this world that, you know, can be devastating to you, or it can be something that can actually build you up. And I believe that a lot of us, man, we go through phases and stages to build ourselves up to become greater than who we are. And a lot often, we find ourselves uh, being stressed by the day-to-day routines, whether it be just getting up in the morning, getting into the gym, or getting up, going to work, going to dealing with trials, tribulations, and situations that you have no control over. And I'm here to just tell you, these things are just temporary in our lives. I've seen so many people, go through some things, man, and they bounce back was so tremendous. They bounce back was exactly what was necessary in order for them to just, empower themselves. And I said that, empower themselves, because a lot of times people look outside of themselves to be empowered, but the true power that you do have is within you. And when we go through these processes, whether it may be health scares or not even our health scares. How about that? It could be people who we love that go through health issues, and it weighs on us. It weighs on us heavy, because we really love these individuals who are going through this particular situation, and sometimes our own health can spiral out of control because we allowed the illness of somebody else to weigh in our hearts. And not only did it weigh in our hearts, it became part of our mental, right? Our mental space that just it becomes overwhelming. And the next thing you know, you become ill. And that's right there. That's a whole different kind of feeling. And I'm not too sure how many people experience these things. But what I can definitely attest to is that it too shall pass. Because, we all have to grow through situations in order for us to have strength. And sometimes we don't even understand why we have the strength. But the truth of the matter is, the strength is for you to be able to bear witness or testimonies of other individuals who you come into contact with, so that you could be able to say, you know what, be strong. Because I went through that. And a lot of times people don't, tell you to be strong. In fact, people don't even want to listen in these days and times. People want to get so stressed and caught up on, the things that they're going through, the things that are stressing them out. But yet, consistency always yields results. So it is fair to say that individuals have to go through some things consistently, right? Whether it's, back to back to back, or if it's there's a season um of growth. There's a season of loss that you take. But the reality is acknowledging the season and knowing that even in that season that there's something for you to learn. There's something for you to gain through all the pain that you may have endured during that time in that season. Like whether it's may have been a loss of a loved one, you know what I mean? Or just a loss of a large amount of finances. All of these different things can bring about um these things could bring about mental discouragement. But when we're in a space to understand that, everything isn't perfect, but yet we still go through days. Um, every time we open our eyes is a blessing to be able to be amongst the land of the living. Now, whether you look at your health to be something that's a blessing, it really determines on your mindset. So a lot often individuals, we grow through these particular situations that we allow to dictate our emotions, that we allow to let us feel a way that at times can be quite disturbing, can be quite just mind wrecking. You know what I mean? And I know that I've have some brothers that will be continuously joining on for tonight's conversation and really be able to share a testimony of moments, when things just seem like I don't even know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to get through this process or this time in my life. And it seems so hard. It seems so like it was a lot, and we never took the time out to acknowledge the fact that we alive, we amongst the land of the living, we're healthy mentally, physically, spiritually. Areas that we have to be able to show the consistency of gratitude in. Because when there's no gratitude, there's no latitude. And I tell you, brothers, that when you add gratitude to your attitude, you then obtain the latitude that is necessary. What does latitude look like? Latitude looks like elevation, elevation in vibration, mindset, energy, everything that you need it to be in your life. Um, Quite often we get swarmed with all the negative things that are happening, whether it be via bills, uh, health issues, financial issues, right? That goes right along with bills. Um, so many different tools that the enemy can potentially use to fool us, to be distracted on an emotion that is temporary. And a lot of the times these emotions that we experience are so temporary. It's like getting a big rock and standing in front of a lake and then throwing that rock right in the center of the lake as far as you can. And when you do that, you see the ripple of these waves. And that's just like the emotions that man has. We sit and we go through these emotions and they ripple out. And when they ripple out, a lot of the times they affect whoever is in the in the vicinity of the ripple effect, right? So just like if we had a small little boat and we was playing by the lake or whatever the case is, and put the small boat by the lake, and then you throw the big rock inside the water, and you see how the waves just to put the make the boat just uneasy. It might even tilt the boat depending on how big the wave is. That is just like having some emotions that you gathered through the course of your day, And whether you've been in contact with other individuals throughout the process of your day, right? Sometimes you might have a customer service job, and you're dealing with multiple personalities and individuals through the course of your day. Or you just you just dealing with situations that you don't have any control of, but when they come to you, you have to not only manage the space that you're in, but you have to manage the energy that you allow to come into contact with you. And quite often we find ourselves um, being, should I say, being affected by somebody else's energy, by somebody else's thoughts, by somebody else's words, by somebody else's presence. And if that person is not positive, and all they have is negative emotions, negative conversations, everything is I don't know. It's just you know, and you be around. Sometimes we be around these people, and when we are around these individuals, what happens is these things are consistently contagious, determining on how we receive. Now, some of us we receive with open arms because we're just receivers, and we always want to try to be in a place of acceptance to be able to assist somebody else. But sometimes assisting other individuals can potentially hurt or harm you as a person. And when you do these things, you have to evaluate, you have to decide, you have to decide on what you're going to do in order for you to be able to be the greatest person that you can be. And sometimes that's just like not understanding that being who you need to be can potentially be derailed because you're so busy caught up with others. And I don't know if anybody listening can identify, but what I can say is it is a process. And the process can either be speed up, it can speed up, it can slow down, or it could just be stagnant, not going nowhere. And quite often we find ourselves in situations where we supposed to um be the leaders of our homes, of our households as men. We are the heads and not the tails. It is consistently echoed throughout the days of times of the position we hold as the men who we are. And quite often we find ourselves in situations where we are side side swipe, right? Because it comes from nowhere. I mean, when I say nowhere, it just comes out of nowhere, like unexpected stuff. I don't know how many of you, experience those unexpected hits where you never expected it to happen, right? Like certain things just pop up out of the blue, and you got to actually deal with it as it comes. Because if you don't deal with it, it can potentially get worse. And I know for a fact that it's all about the mindset that you have when you're dealing with it. Like recently, we have a fatherhood brunch at the end of the month. It's scheduled. It was scheduled for the 30th of this month. Just recently, um, the location called me last week and said we double booked. We cannot host this event this month. So for me, I was like, you double booked. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I got a celebrity on the panel. I got a well-known pastor on the panel. I got some good I got some good speakers on this for this panel for this fatherhood brunch at the end of the month. And it's like, oh, I didn't panic, I didn't get mad, I didn't get upset. I just said, this may not be the time for it to actually happen. So what I'll do is instead of stressing myself out, I'll postpone it. I'll put it on for the following month, which will be the last Saturday in June, and we'll see exactly how everything unfolds. And if it's going to be successful, it's going to be successful. And that's just what it is for me. I'm not, I used to be in a mindset where if I plan for something to happen and I want it really to go down, it happens. But when it doesn't, I get upset, I get frustrated, and it becomes a situation where I don't have the control over it. But what I realize is at times you have to allow, not at times, but all the time, you have to allow God to be able to be a manifestation in your life so that certain things can unfold properly so that you can be able to analyze whatever it was that was supposed to happen or didn't happen so that you can be able to get the lesson from it. And a lot of the times we overlook those lessons because we allow our emotions to dictate how we should feel or what it is that we are going through at that moment. Brother Howell, I see your hand up, brother. Grace and
Yeah,
peace.
hey, brothers. Yeah, blessings, blessings, blessings. This Memorial Day, shout out to all the vets that's passed on. You know,
Yes, indeed.
salute. And for the ones that are still here, doing the good work. Um, my father-in-law, a Vietnam vet, passed a few years ago. He was part of that one percenters, the Hebrew, what do they call them? The Hebrew
Israelites.
Israelites. Yeah, 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 yeah. But he's part of that Ethiopian Jews that were trying to, stake claim in Israel to show that they're part of the initial,
Who
group.
Israelites?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It was a very, very, very instrumental in me understanding a lot about spirituality, man. Um, so yeah, man, definitely respect. He had a lot of issues when he came home, man. A lot of issues, and he didn't really trust the government to help him. You know what I mean? Because how folks were treated once they got back from Nam, man. It wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look at all. Um, yeah, yeah. But initially when I looked at the topic, did you change the topic at the last minute there, Brother Kenny?
Mm,
Because you did, right?
no, I ain't changed anything
No?
at the last minute. What does the
Okay.
topic say?
What I'm saying is life can seem negative during moments. However, what helps you make it through difficult times? Is that what the current topic is?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I saw like a small one-liner at first, but maybe I was looking at some another week.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, Brother Kenny, man, peace and blessings to the crew. What you were just saying, I want to highlight that, man, because, I don't want to say that, I don't know any other way. I don't know any other way when life is throwing things that you might seem as negative or you might seem as, as something that is not desirable. And that's how you interpreting it in that moment in time, right? Um, but having that wait and see attitude is not is the only way I know how to do it. And I know it, like for me, it drives my wife up to the wall because she's all about you got to make sure this and you got to control that. And I'm just looking at her like, wow. And you see the stress that can come from all that stuff. But according to her, she likes it, right? And I go through things come up, things change, weather change, and everybody's looking to me to like, what are we gonna do? I said, what do you mean? What are we gonna do? We're gonna make some calls, see if certain things can happen. Things usually work itself out. But when you get all worked up, you literally become blind to any real solution. Because then, like you said, you yelling at the other company about, why, they trying to, appease you. Obviously, you're the customer, whatever the case is. Now, you could kill a relationship there that you're going to need for the future, for just one event. So, whatever that situation is that's happening, man, having that wait and see attitude can be so monumentous, man. So I wanted to highlight what you were saying as a real solution for these types of situations that people look at as just because I planned something and it didn't work out, you look at it as negative. But you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. So the best thing I would say is the same thing that you said. Remain calm, focus on what the real goal is, and make the phone call. Say, hey, celebrity person one, things didn't work out for this weekend. Give them a decent enough heads up. Say, all right, we're gonna push it to this date. Can you let me know how that date worked for you? Um, and few times you might get the feedback from some of those other players and whatever it is that you plan, and really be like, yo, whew, man, I'm glad you called me about this, man, because yo, X, Y, this, that, blah, 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 blah. You just don't know. So the best thing you can do is never lose your cool and fly off the handle, man. And have a wait and see attitude because we all know who's really in control, man.
Facts.
We all know who's in control, man. And let him be in control. I know you while you were talking, you were saying sometimes, and you caught yourself, you said, no, all the time. He's in control all the time. Everything. And when we start to move in that realm, you actually don't even have problems. It's just things that happen
Hmm.
and you react to it and move on to the next thing. It's really not a problem. But I know it's very we like to label certain things to kind of and like you were talking about before, brother Kenny, we tend to want to label certain things to get some kind of an emotional attachment to it. And that's one of the things that you got to pay attention to because once you call it bad, in order for it to be bad, got to create a negative response to it in order to make it bad. But if it's just, you know what? I get it. I have triple booked before. So I understand. All good. We're gonna try to make some things move around and we'll get back to you. Right? And that's where that looking at oneself always comes in to help you with certain things because you double book. Now, it might not be a double book in the sense of exactly that, but you can go back and see that, oh man, yeah, I told XYZ I'll be there at 10. I fell asleep, woke up at 12. Oh crap. What you can insert your own situation there.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's my piece, man. Thanks, bro.
Appreciate you, King.
Mhm.
Brother Dwayne.
Peace, brothers. Peace, peace. Congratulations, Dr. Carter.
Yes,
Most
Oh
sir.
definitely.
yes.
Congratulations
Oh
to
man,
you.
I thought I missed that part. I thought you guys already did that at the beginning. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Congrats, man.
But we always have to be prepared for the pivot. That's the one thing that no matter what comes our way, we can't get totally, you know, all hell bent in our emotions, ride high and we spark out in a manner of emotions. We have to remain calm and allow our character, which we build, to show forth, and that gains a lot with others, like Brother Howell said, because now you could ruin a relationship with somebody you might need again in the future by blessing them out or going off on them and making them feel a certain way. But you go out and you just explain, yo, all right, I understand things happen, and then of course they're gonna have to make up to you, with something in some vein or fashion, and then the other people that were coming to participate, I mean, you gave them enough notice, a week's notice, to be like, I'm very sorry, but this happened, and I'm sorry for any problems it may have caused in your scheduling. I know you're very busy, and I thank you for taking the time to pencil this in, but this is beyond my control. So hopefully the next time you'll be able to, help us in this situation, and we give you all of the support that you need, and I appreciate you, and let them know that, and then you just keep it moving. And again, by not flying off the handle, which sometimes people do things because that's what they want to see. They want to see you fly off the handle or see how
Right.
you're going to handle things in a stressful situation. But
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
remain calm and you just, let them see like, nah, you're not, you like you were saying with the ripples, because no matter how we look at a boat, we be like, how no matter how big this boat is, when it's in the sea, it's like a toy in the bathtub, because them waves get really really big. So you know what I'm saying. So we just gotta remember that I'm not in control here. God's in control, and this happened for a reason. And I'm going to be like, all right, God, I know you're
Mhm.
not going to suffer me to embarrassment because I'm doing this in order to bring you the glory. So I thank you, and we'll just move on with that. So, brothers, peace. That's what I got. I know a lot of brothers they watching that Nick game. That's why they're not ahead. Nick game, and they following with it is a holiday, but it's all good.
Listen, I learned through trial and error that I have to be consistent on this platform, no matter if one person show up or a
Mhm.
hundred people show up. At this point, there's so many people that rely on even listening to some of the reruns and just be like, yo, like I needed to hear that. And sometimes, we don't know who we affect or impact through the course of their life just by having a conversation, an open conversation for a man or even a female to listen to in their own private space and to be able to assess what was being said and then be able to draw their own conclusions. And even going through particular trials and tribulations as men of God, we know that a lot of the times that the enemy set out to derail whatever we have planned. We know that there is a force that is not for our best interest that's out here. So a lot of the times when we take this time to acknowledge it, it's just saying I acknowledge it. I see you. It's not that I'm gonna let it work its influence over my mind for me to conform to the thinking of being a failure, to the thinking of being depressed, to the thinking of saying I can't do it. I'm not that person. And I highly encourage those who listen to know that we defeat ourselves first with the talk that we give ourselves. So it's always good to have positive self-reflection despite how many mistakes we may have made throughout the course of our life or throughout our walk. Those mistakes weren't just mistakes, those were other ways that we found out that it didn't work. So we have to be able to take those particular experiences and say, to somebody else, well, I did that right there and it didn't work for me. So I wouldn't suggest that you go around that same route, because if you go around that same route, potentially you're going to get the same thing I got. But, I just wanted to make sure I did my due diligence in giving you what I experienced. Now I'm going to leave it on you to make that move. Quite often people, are bullheaded and they find themselves falling into the hole that you told them that was there in the first place. But due to the fact that you told them it was there, it shouldn't have been an issue, because now I did my job. I let you know about the experience I had and what it did for me. And a lot of the times, we don't even do that much. A lot of the times we won't even sit down and talk to any of the youth whom we do come into contact with, just saying, yo, listen, little bro, this is real and you're going to go through this. And not only are you going to go through it, this is how you should handle it. Because there's a lot of the times we cannot find what's necessary for us to even be who we need to be without experiencing the things that we have to experience. And it's kind of messed up when you think about it, like, yo, a woman, right? Just for instance, like some women have to experience birth to understand what being a mother is. Like that's kind of hard. Some fathers got to be in a hospital to literally see the baby come out, to be like, yo, she went through some stuff. That was 9 months of carrying a life in her belly. And then on the due date, she had to allow her body to expand so this life can come out. Or if you had a C-section, they had to cut her open, take the baby out, go through the process of clearing the baby's lungs and everything else. But the thing is, the man had to be there present to actually experience that. And then when you're there present, I don't know how many of you brothers um experienced being in that room when your child was born. But I could tell you, like, for my first time, I was blown away. I didn't even want to see all of the blood and the gooky stuff. I ain't gonna hold you. That wasn't something that I wanted to do. And I was in there and I just was like, nah, can't do it. I just can't do it. Sorry, I will never look at it the same. But that was uh one of the biggest problems I've seen a woman go through. But see, in my mind, it was a problem because I'm a man. Of course, it's a problem. But a woman, that is her right to get through the process from being a young lady to becoming a full-blown woman. Because now she conceived and she went through term and had a child, a living, breathing being she brought into this earth through your seed, of course, because without your seed, there would be no nothing. And a lot of times, when women be like, oh, I don't need a man, yeah, you should have told that to your father. But that's another conversation. I know that we have to grow through situations in order for us to look at things from different perspectives. So, what I once looked at as a problem was actually a solution in somebody else's life. So quite often, we may look at other individuals from the perspective or perception that we're in or at in our lives, and we may view things to be troubling. We may view things to be problematic. But this individual that's actually growing through that process, they are obtaining the strength that is necessary in order for them to get through the next phases or levels in their life. So it's just like saying, um, the caterpillar. The caterpillar, it eats the leaves to the point where, when it goes into the season to bring the cocoon, to put the cocoon around it. And then eventually it goes through the process, which is called the metamorphosis, with inside of this cocoon. But I didn't know that, like, when we young boys, we find little stuff and we all curious and things like that. And we start helping, we thinking we helping and stuff. I didn't know that if you tried to help a caterpillar come out of the cocoon, that you could potentially kill it and kill the whole process. But it looked like it was going through so much problems coming out. And I'm like, if you try to help it, you can potentially kill the caterpillar from its full transformation. And I say that to say that a lot of the times we watch individuals go through situations, phases, and stages in their lives, and we are so compelled in our hearts to be like, you know what? Do you need a hand, or do you need help, or whatever it might be? Because it just looks like something that's difficult or something that's just uncomfortable. Like, yo, you really got to go through that by choice? That's what you're doing, and we don't, you know, um, understand that process because it's not for us to understand. Sometimes it's for us to be silent, be observative, and just watch how this unfolds. And quite often I've seen brothers, like, some young boys who talk, I don't know how to be a father, but she's pregnant and I don't I don't know what to do, and I don't have no support. And they went from all of that to years later, they're married. Years later, the child is big, and the father's actually being a father. So I say that there is a process that we all have to go through so that we can be able to understand that we all have purpose. And when we do not acknowledge our purpose, it becomes a useless experience in the life of another person. You may ask yourself, what you mean, bro? How did my purpose become useless in the life of somebody else? Easy. Very easy. Because when you don't acknowledge it, it becomes a hard situation for them to even think of or even deal with because of it. So I just say, like, we got to do better in order for us to be the best people that we can possibly be. But we can't do that because we so focused on everything else that has no particular purpose in our lives to help us grow. And when we can't grow, all that does is puts us in a situation to be bad, to be worse off. Don't mind me, I'm over here trying to find out what's going on with my technical issues on this side. I think I may have just found out and fixed it, which is good. But we find ourselves in a situation where we can't even, develop or be who we need to be because we so focused on everybody else that's outside of us. And I think that's part of the duties of a man, right? To be focused on your family, to be focused on your wife, to be focused on your children, and use them as the motivations that's necessary to be progressive. Because a lot of the times, we put ourselves in situations where it ain't nobody else around. Nobody else around. Especially when it comes to what we need or who do we need. It becomes a lonely situation because you are so busy dealing with what you're dealing with as a man. Sometimes there's nobody to talk to. Sometimes you have to literally sit down in a space by yourself and really go through your day in your head and say, all right, what did I get out of this day? Can it build me up? What are some of the encounters that I had that I may have helped somebody? And really just sit there and go through that process of self-analyzation so that you don't take whatever that you experience on this day into your tomorrow. Because tomorrow, when you awaken, supposedly you're supposed to awaken with a clean slate. When you open your eyes, a lot of the things that you experienced during this day is supposed to be the wisdom that was necessary for you to be able to grow and move forward on your next endeavor. Sometimes we got some unfinished business though. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm one of those. I be having unfinished business, and it's be like, yo, I didn't get it done yesterday. So guess what? Today is that day. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna focus on it and I'm gonna get it out the way. And I find myself in these particular situations not because I procrastinate, but there's certain things that comes up that takes priority, and I have to deal with the priorities first. And I think that's all men's situation. We all have to prioritize the things that come at us during the course of the day. And sometimes we may have things all set up and planned. And a lot of times things may go as we plan them to go. But then there's those moments where whatever you plan, it just gets derailed because something else came up. And then you got to make a decision whether or not you're going to deal with the thing that just came up or you're going to just stay focused on what was planned. So for me, it depends on the priority of the thing that just came up. Like if I gotta go to my daughter's school all of a sudden through the in the middle of the day because something may have happened in the school. That's something that just came up, but that's my child. So I don't care about a meeting that I may have had at 2 p.m. because listen, I gotta go make sure my child is taken care of. So I'm gonna call that meeting and say, yo, listen, something just came up, yada yada yada. Can we meet tomorrow? You know what I mean? And these are the things that we have to sometimes do, but it is only for, the for the good mental health that we have to continue to establish through the course of the day. Because for me, if I didn't go to my meeting, if put it like this, if I didn't go check on my daughter and go see what was going on in her school, I wouldn't even be present in the meeting. I could be at the meeting and my mind is not even thinking about what's coming out the person's mouth. They be sounding like the Charlie Brown teacher. Just a whole bunch of womp 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 womp, and I'm sitting up there just looking at them. And meanwhile, I'm at the meeting with my, it didn't add up. So I say, man, that we're going to experience some stuff, man, and it's just about preparing your mind and knowing where your desire is. Your desire to be great, your desire to be wealthy, your desire to want change is imperative for you to be able to identify in this moment, in this stage in our lives as men, as seasoned men. Because when you're seasoned, that means you're moving with a little bit of flavor in you. And if you're moving with some flavor, then that means, you could move around in a wide circle, and you could be able to assist a lot of other individuals just by your presence, because you have a desire to want more. You have a desire to be wealthy. You have a desire to be rich. And once you have those desires, I've noticed throughout time that people with strong desires to be wealthy, to be successful, they become that. They don't settle, for less. They just don't settle at all. They don't settle until they obtain the things that they really want. And I think right now I'm at a stage in my life where my desire has increased even the more. Increase for wealth, increase for riches, increase to be a landlord, to be owning properties. You know what I mean? Like my desire has consistently become more hungry, and now that it is hungry, I'm putting myself in position to be able to obtain my desires through the education that I sit and I allow myself to take in, so that I could be able to have a better understanding on how to navigate through day to day situations. And I know that it has a lot to do with the desire, because the desire is everything. You know what I mean? We could use desire in a negative way, but we also can use it in a positive way. And the way I'm using it now is a positive way. You have to desire for your children to do great. You have to desire for your marriage to be great. You have to have that desire. Because once you lose the desire, you have lost the fire. And I'm just telling you what it is. So for us, we have to keep the fire burning. Because when there's no fire, there's smoke. Who want to deal with the smoke? I don't want to deal with the smoke. Smoke just causes a whole bunch of chaos. The smoke just causes a suffocating feeling. And I don't know about you, but I've dealt with those suffocating feelings. Like I can't breathe. I don't know what I'm about to do. I get the anxiety, the stress, all of that. That's that smoke. Nobody wants that smoke. But as long as we keep the fire burning, that fire burning is an indication that our desire to want more continues to override whatever it is that the enemy is trying to do in our lives. And I say it like just knowing, like, every time you answer your phone, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good news. My phone rings at least 10, 20 times a day, tops. And out of 10 to 20 times, I might get a good 5 or 6 positive energies. Like, you know what I mean? Good 5 or 6 good energy, good conversations. The rest to be like, yo, somebody need a prayer, somebody needs some solutions, or somebody's going through something. Yo, can they hold something? And I'm like, I can't let you hold anything because I'm trying to hold something myself, and I ain't got it to hold. So therefore, I can't help you, bro. You know
No
what I mean?
doubt.
So there's a lot of those things that happens. I guess, and I know I'm not the only one who experienced that, because if we all take the time out to count how many times our phone rings throughout the course of the day, and we think about how many solutions or problems that we encounter, the number is crazy. Especially, I don't know, my number's been the same for like over 10 years. So I tell people all the time, I don't change my numbers. I just change
Yeah.
what I'm so for. Straight up.
Yeah. Yeah. Same number on my side. 30 some years, same number. So
Yeah.
you never know. All folks always reach out, man. But yeah, yeah. Like you said, man. Look, and the other part, that you mentioned about it, you have a desire, um, and with each desire, there's always a timeline, right? And you know, understanding that certain things might happen overnight, and then certain things might not happen overnight. You know, and and having that awareness to you know apply all the things that we were talking about before to these desires, right? Where you know you have realistic conversations, you have open conversations, you have real conversations. You're talking about a desire, for financial increase, right? Um, and the approach is, okay, I'm going to get the education, right? Um, that takes time, right? And then applying the education, and depending on the route you go, right? Usually, if it's the straight and narrow, right, there's going to be a time between getting from 0 to 100 or 100,000 or 100 million, whatever the case is, right? Um, and understanding that each step comes with a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more awareness. But yeah, I mean, the same things that you apply into your everyday scheduling and events and is the same type of mindset that you put in towards growing your family, growing money. It really doesn't change. That's why a lot of times, when we're talking, I always talk about just being a single person. You don't have to turn off you and turn on a different you. And there's a you around certain type of people, and then there's you around this type of people, and then there's a you around the corporate office, then there's a you at home, and then it's like, yo, how many personalities inside this one body got to be there so you can survive in the world? And
Yeah.
and it can get to a place where you really believe you got to be five different people. You know what I mean? But that's a rough one. That's a tough one to maintain. And don't, hopefully you don't mix it up. You know what I mean? But yeah, yeah. Listen, the mindset ties in with your desires. It can be a beautiful thing once it's the right mindset. And how you can always check if it's right or if it's wrong is if it's bringing you, especially with the financial side. Most of the books that I've read, chapter one was you got to understand, are you a risk tolerant person? That's the first thing most of them talk about. And if you realize that if you invest a certain amount of money in something and you can't go to sleep on a nightly basis because all you're thinking about is if tomorrow this happened and that happened, there's always some negative. I lose everything, right? Then
Hmm.
that's not where you need to be putting your money, because money is not supposed to bring you that level of anxiety and stress, right? There's like clear indications basically when you figure out how risk averse you are as a person, that's a clear indication. Okay, I need to find somewhere else to go. I need to, you know, and I'll just speak about it like you're talking about with the real estate, right? There's usually three categories: A, B, C properties, right? A is Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan, high rollers, people, big money, high rents. But the minute the market swings, they're in trouble, right? Your B property is your blue collar worker, maybe a white collar worker. doing well, decent neighborhood, they can get money. If they lose a job, they can get another job. They're pretty resourceful, right? But you might not get the extra thousands and thousands of dollars in rent, but you get a consistent type of renter once you get a renter in there. And then there's the C property, which is in those rough neighborhoods. There's potential to make a lot of money, right? But you got to be underground. Folks usually some kind of public assistance, looking for some kind of they got to fulfill some requirement in order to get that rent. But they got to, SSI, they got to go to their programs, whatever the case is. Now you're not just a landlord. Now you become a social worker. You know what I mean? So, and that's just a little overview of like, okay, what can you handle, right? And you got to sit with your seller. Yo, can I go into these dark lit hallways of these buildings that I might own and talk to tenants and got to collect my cash rents? Do I want to be dealing with that? Or maybe I go to a B property, right? Where, it might be cost me a little bit more to buy, but I know stability wise, rental wise, I'll be good. All right. Because some cats may look now, hey, I grew up in this type of neighborhood. I can talk to anybody. Even if the dude might be an addict or whatever, once he paying his rent, I can deal with it, right? But some folks like, nah, forget that, right? So again, you knowing who you are, right? Knowing the type of person that you kind of envision yourself being. And maybe in the beginning, you might try a C, and then after you get that C, you flip it and get a B. And if you do real well, you flip a couple of B's and you get an A. And now A, usually you kind of home free. You can just kind of just sit back and let maybe somebody else manage it, and you just get your checks every month. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's a great thing, man. When you start to get to certain levels and you're having certain conversations, man, if you start to see this whole world as just a drama stage, man, and everybody
Yeah.
trying to play their part, and if they don't got something secure, a secure foundation they can stand on, they're crazy wobbly and they're shaky, and anybody can take them and go, come over here. Nah, come over here, and you don't lose yourself, and then somebody else try to tell you who you are and where you need to go. But it's the advancement you've made over the, you know, geez, man, I don't know, about what, 6, 7 years I've known you now. You know, um, it's been amazing watching the program grow, watching you grow, and get into a place where now the family's getting a little older, and now you starting to seek out those additional opportunities that come with the family growing, right? Because now
Yeah.
you want to, you're trying to build something, to leave something, but also enjoy something before you got to leave it, right?
Right. That part.
Yeah. That's it, man. Yeah, I actually just came back from the woods, man. I was out there in Connecticut. My brother-in-law, the guy's an architect. He bought a old fixer upper there for about 5 years and been fixing it up. Just telling us about it. He didn't want to have no visitors. He only had was like one toilet that worked, and he'd been fixing it up for about 4.5 years, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Finally, 2026, he invited us to come up. You know what I mean? And yeah, you see the work, bro. You see the work. The place is amazing, man. So
Yeah,
now,
that's dope.
yeah. But just listen to him for year on top of year talking about how he's trying to fix the bathroom, the living room, the roof, and the this.
That
I'm
yeah.
like, oof, that's some dedication, another level, man. But he had his vision, man. He had his vision. It took a while,
Yeah.
but he got it.
So I
Yeah, man.
believe that's all it's about, man. It's about us having a vision. Each and every one of us, those who are tapping in now, those who might tap in later, just knowing that it's about the vision to get us to the destination that we envision ourselves in. Right? We may not see it right now. We may not see it tomorrow, but yet as long as we see it, and I believe is if you see it, you could achieve it. But if you can achieve it, it only comes in your belief. It only comes in your faith. You have to have the faith of a mustard seed, but knowing that, faith for me only comes through, the hearing of the word of God, and knowing that I'm rooted in that word and all of the promises that are attached to it. And I know that one of the main things that I've read that is none of the promises will return back to him void, which means if he said it, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But it's about the desire that we hold that could bring forth the manifestation either quicker or later. So um I don't think this is going to be a long drawn convo tonight. I think tonight is just a simmering night where even for myself, I got I got actually 4 new books that I just got in the mail. I'm sharing them. This is the Hermetic and Alchemical Writings of Paracelsus, right? So that's something that I'm gonna be looking into. I got this right here, uh, Former Fraternities of and Confessions of the Rosicrucians Fraternity. Dwayne might know something about that. I don't know. Then I got the 100 facts. There's a hundred amazing facts about the Negro with complete proof by J.A. Rogers, of course. And then I got the Kabbalion. So
Rebellion. Okay.
3 initiatives.
All
Three
right.
initiatives. So I got some good books for me to actually go in and do my little studies and stuff. That's what I like to do. When I'm not around a whole bunch of people, which is real seldom these days, I find myself in my home and I'm just reading. I got stacks of books. One of my favorite is definitely, if y'all haven't gotten yourselves a copy of that Egyptian, or should I say Ethiopian Bible,
European Bible. Yep, yep.
it's here. Boy, when I tell you, it's a it's a big difference when you're talking about the Lord and God, and they tell you off the rip is Yahweh.
Yep.
So when you go through certain information, it helps you in the future. It helps you be able to differentiate the lies when they do come. So as you increase your knowledge, you enhance your discernment. So if you're one of those who run from books and you don't like reading and you ain't like, having intellectual conversations, chances are that you're a person that believes everything you see on the news, everything somebody else says. You're one of those people who be on social media and believes everything you see, don't even know if it's AI or not. We'll pray for you.
Mm.
We'll pray for you. But what I can say is, this is a process, and knowing that we're all here to experience life, um, on stages, and we arrive on levels is imperative for you to just condition your mind now, um, that you will go through some problems, but those problems they won't be forever. These things are all temporary, and when you understand that these things that are temporary, they come through as a storm, is meant for you to go through the storm and endure the storm and record every emotion, every feeling you had when you were going through this storm, and like, I went through this, I felt this, I experienced this, and then you see the next man going through that storm. You might be his umbrella. You might be the brother to say, "Yo, hold up. I just finished going through that a few months back, bruh. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. Focus up, man. Stay prayerful and know that this too is shall pass." A lot of the times I think people go through things and they just get stuck in that motion and they just feel like it's forever. And I'm here to tell you, man, nobody's storm lasts forever. We all go through them things so that we could obtain the wisdom that is necessary probably to help somebody else. But in the process, can't help nobody else unless you help yourself. So as we going through what we go through, help yourself first. Get what you need to get out of whatever the lesson is, whatever it might be that you got to go through. Help yourself. Record your lessons. Know that then you will become a living, breathing testimony for somebody else to get through their storm. But nobody wants to go through a storm. Nobody. I don't know nobody on God's green earth that wants to be like, hey, pick me. It's me. It's me. I want to go. No, that's not the case. The storms, they just come, man. They form just like tornadoes out of the blue. And then when they come, you just got to buckle in, buckle down, and just get through it. And once you get through it, it's damage control after that. So what I say is, brothers, just take some time out. Those who are going to tap in now or tap in later, leave a comment. Let us know, was this impactful? Did you hear something that may have encouraged you? May have enhanced or even bettered your view on things, because we know that, this stuff here is not forever, man. Life ain't even forever. We all got expiration dates, but I just believe that, we're gonna be here for a while. Healthy. I'm gonna speak that. We're gonna be healthy and here for a while. Because God is gonna continue to use us, and not only that, we're gonna continue to give God a reason to keep us so that we can be able to be used. Oh man. Brother Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
Can you please take us out, please, sir, and thank you.
Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, thank you. Thank you for life, health, and strength, God. Thank you for giving us a sound mind as we travail this thing called life. Thank you for giving us a heart that is out there to uplift others, not to try and downplay or put anybody down, but to encourage others, to lift them up. Thank you for this organization we call Faith, that we can go out and we can touch young men and encourage them to do the right things in life, God. I thank you for our founder, for our leader, for our brother Carter, Dr. Carter, now, for elevating him and for his desire to learn more, to read more, to study more, and to share that information with all that he comes in contact with. I just ask that you just keep us safe from all hurt, harm, and danger, keep our family safe, and allow each of us to find out what our purpose is in life. And once we find out what that purpose is, that we work hard and that we go and let nothing get in the way of us accomplishing what it is that we've been placed here for. Let us make a dent with that dash. Lord, we thank you. In Jesus' name, until we meet again, Yahshua HaMashiach, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, brothers, till we meet again. One
Yes,
love.
indeed.
Yes,
Peace and
sir.
blessings.
Amen. Peace and blessings,
Peace,
brother.
peace.
That was very fruitful tonight. Blessings.
Bye, brother Ali.
All right.